Oil pipeline is making its way across Mobile County, and it is set to run through the Big Creek Lake watershed. Now remember, Big Creek Lake supplies most of the drinking water for our area.
But some people fear that pipeline will eventually rupture and contaminate our drinking water. And as we told you on Fox News at 5 tonight, the company building the pipeline has taken land from some property owners along the route.
Tonight, our Candace Murphy is taking a closer look at those responsible for approving the project.
It's a question many of you have asked. How did Plains South Cap begin construction on an oil pipeline in Mobile County without local leaders and citizens knowing about its threat to the drinking water supply? And who approved a project that some say jeopardizes the health and welfare of the county's citizens? I dug deeper and got some answers. Whether you're washing your hands, taking a shower, or grabbing a drink, if you're in Mobile County, your water's most likely coming from here, Big Creek Lake. The 3,600-acre lake supplies water to more than 250,000 people, and it all goes through this pumping station.
We're pumping about 46 million gallons of water right now to the treatment plants.
The station was built on Hamilton Creek, the same creek Plains South Cap wants to build an oil pipeline.
Just right at a mile from the site, from the intake to the site of the oil line.
Despite the oil company's claim the pipeline is safe, locals fear the pipeline will eventually rupture, spilling oil into our drinking water.
Pipelines leak, trains crash.
It would shut us down, yes.
So it's not just a simple matter of taking booms out to Big Creek Lake and cleaning it up. It would be a cleanup of massive proportions, because we're not talking about the Gulf of Mexico. We're talking about drinking water.
Moss has insisted Plains South Cap reroute the pipeline, but the oil company says moving it out of the watershed isn't going to happen. Local leaders say they didn't find out about the project and its potential threat to the watershed until after construction began in March.
I don't think the county became fully aware of it until June of 2013.
So who said yes to a project that some say jeopardizes the health and welfare of the county's citizens? Plains South Cap Attorney Jared White says the company received permits from several agencies.
As part of the process of building this pipeline, Plains obtained a certificate of industrial development from the Alabama Public Service Commission. It also obtained a permit from the U.S. Corps of Engineers, obtained an ADEM permit, and then it obtained a license agreement with Mobile County.
Earlier this year, local leaders and citizens criticized the Public Service Commission. They said the commission should have done more to advertise a public hearing in Montgomery discussing the oil pipeline project.
They didn't communicate with us that they did it. They weren't required to say, hey, County Commission, we're getting ready to have this hearing and we want you to know what we're doing.
PSC Judge John Gardner said the commission followed these same notification procedures it's used for decades.
We put it in the paper for at least 4 weeks. That's always been effective. Apparently in this case there was some question about that.
Garner said even if local citizens and Mobile County representatives were present at the hearing, he doesn't think it would have made much of a difference.
The only authority that we can exercise is just to make a finding as to whether or not the proposed project is in the furtherance of industrial development.
But some aren't happy with that answer.
In your 26 years on the PSC, have you ever found an applicant to not be in furtherance of industrial development? And if so, can you tell us which one that was?
That would be a no, because none of them have ever been challenged. I remember one landowner.
You've never, in 26 years, you've never found an applicant not to be in furtherance of economic development.
What I said was, yes, that's true, but we've never had one challenge. There's never been someone who tried to come and make a showing that had the appropriate standing.
Gardner says the PSC does not have the authority to address the public's environmental concerns about the pipeline crossing the Mobile County watershed.
That would be ADEM, the Army Corps of Engineers, the local governmental officials who have to approve permitting for disturbance of the soil and crossing of the rights-of-ways, things of that nature.
Fox 10 News took a closer look and discovered the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approved the oil pipeline project under a general nationwide permit.
We're all about construction and preserving the environment and preventing spills into the wetlands and the waters.
So why didn't the Corps stop the oil pipeline construction across water bodies like Hamilton Creek?
We're looking only at the environmental aspects of the water and the streams.
So when building this pipeline, though, I mean, if there is a spill, that's going to affect the environment.
Once again, that's a safety aspect, and that's solely looked upon by the Department of Transportation.
Spokesperson for the Corps, Lisa Parker, is referring to the Department of Transportation Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration in Washington, D.C., the same city where Plains South Cap's permit was approved.
Nationwide permits are traditionally out there for traditional construction projects that are nationwide that are, used routinely.
Mobile County Attorney Jay Ross says similar to the PSC and the Corps of Engineers, the county's role in granting Plains permission to construct an oil pipeline is also limited.
What goes through that pipeline or that conduit or that electrical sewer is not really something we are overly have regulatory authority over.
Ross says the county approved a right-of-way for the pipeline project. Do you think that the county dropped the ball in that aspect?
No, county didn't drop the ball at all. I mean, county wasn't necessarily aware of the controversy surrounding it. Because again, the county has many roads across the county where we've granted easements for compensation for whatever that runs oil through it.
While the Gulf Coast Pipeline required approval from several agencies, each regulates a very narrow scope of guidelines. The Corps approved a nationwide permit covering construction crossing wetlands. ADEM granted a water quality certification limiting runoff. The PSC endorsed the pipeline based on its economic prospects, and Mobile County granted the pipeline the right-of-way access. All the agencies Fox 10 spoke with said they don't have the authority to stop pipeline construction through the watershed.
There's a lot of, that's not my department, that's not my department. And what I think a lot of the public's question is we don't want a crude oil pipeline at all. You know, and everybody says, well, I don't have the power to stop it. And, you know, it may just be one of those things that it rolls all the way back up to the legislature.
So does there need to be a change in the approval and permitting process?
It is certainly an area that if people are unhappy about how the process works, you know, it's a state law process, and the legislature can change what the law is.
I have talked to some of the local legislators for the Mobile area, and they are talking about trying to change some legislation that will statutorily require the Public Service Commission to give local entities, governmental, whatever, more notice and opportunity to be heard prior to their doing their statutory duty.
PSC Judge Garner says he's already made some changes.
We have just as an administrative body determined that for future reference, as we did on this current project, that we would just send notifications to the legislators, city officials, anyone who might be interested in the project. We'll go ahead and send them a separate notice. So we have stepped up our notice requirements.
I reached out to local legislators and will let you know what I hear back from them. In the meantime, the court battle between Moss and Plains South Cap will resume on December 16th. If Plains South Cap wins, the company is legally obligated to install the pipe through the watershed by horizontal directional drilling. White says the drilling will start and end off Moss property and peak at 110 feet below ground.
Cash, electronics, and jewelry. That's what thieves stole from